Thank you for letting me know how to work the equipment. We still have power. Now we have sound, which is cool. And you can hear us talk all about the
winter weather.
Winter weather, yes. We decided days ago to call this a winter storm and not a snowstorm. And the reason is pretty clear to you at this point, right? Because we have not had any snow since, when was it, about 9 this morning?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Ever since I've gotten to work, I haven't seen snow.
Yeah, so a lot of sleet, a lot of action in the area. Roadways are bad. That much is pretty clear at the moment. Haven't had too many really horrible power outages so far, but the winds seem like they've been pretty terrible. Hold on, I'm going to get this here so it looks nice and pretty. There we go. We're included, Mo. It's good. But yeah, Tim Buckley with you, Monique Robinson, and we're just going to track this for you. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We're happy to do our best to answer most of them. We do have close to 400 people watching, so like I said, we'll do our best. But I think what's best to do is maybe for us to kind of give a little spiel first for 4 or 5 minutes or so, and then we'll kind of go back and scroll up and see what you have to say and what we didn't cover super well. I'm going to start out with the radar here, and I know there's a lot going on, so maybe I'll just pause it at the end. But Monique, we have all these different colors showing up, right? So there's different types of precipitation.
Yeah, certainly. We're seeing some greens all the way to the east of us. That's showing you where there's rain. Even some freezing rain down to the south of that one, that purple, blue, sorry, my eyes, bluish color. Then we're seeing some pinks here, indications of some sleet, and some purples, which are also sleet, like a mixed bag. And then when we look all the way west, we're seeing snow still over with the whites that you're seeing on here. So it's a bit of a mixed bag across the entire state, not just even here, but across the entire state of North Carolina.
Yeah, and the radar has a hard job today because it's really estimating what's trying to go on. So this right now, as far as we can tell, this corridor is the spot that may be seeing the freezing rain happening at the moment. North of that is still sleet and some snow, and to the south and east you're above freezing. So it's all just regular old rain. This is moving through though. We'll loop it again. And you can see that the precipitation is actually starting to die off. I'm not going to say this is the end of it for us, but it's a good start. It's definitely a good start to see. So what's going to happen over the next few hours, we'll continue to have some of this sleet falling. We'll continue to maybe see more in the way of freezing rain. But Monique, it's really good news. It's already 4:30, and most of us haven't really had much of any glaze on the trees.
Yeah. The freezing rain factor has not really come into play for a lot of people across the Triad. I know a lot of folks are saying, I don't know what this is. When I walk outside, I'm not sure if I'm seeing freezing rain or seeing sleet. Well, if you hear it and it's giving that ping pong or kind of like hitting your window or your car, more than likely you're hearing sleet, not necessarily freezing rain. Freezing rain would come down just simply like rain, and it doesn't freeze until it comes into contact with something, whether that be a pole or your car or your window. But the freezing rain, the freeze part doesn't happen until it makes contact with something. So it wouldn't necessarily hit and bounce off like the sleet does.
And the freezing rain is really what gives us trouble with power outages. So our biggest concern for power outages today were areas that got a lot of the freezing rain. We've seen that in places like Troy in Montgomery County. We've seen a little bit of that in Asheboro. Most of us, though, at this point, my gut would say, yes, you will still have some freezing rain, maybe a glaze, but at this point, if you haven't had any yet, it's very unlikely you're going to get enough freezing rain that it alone would cause power outages. The problem is we do still have the wind to talk about, and that's been really impressive.
Yeah, this winter storm story is not completely over just quite yet. When we talk about the winds, that's something that we're going to continue to talk about as we go into tonight and into your Monday morning. You can see some wind gusts across the area are fairly strong, just dancing around even 30 miles per hour in some places. But if you are in some areas, I mean like Mount Airy, you've seen some significant wind gusts, even higher than tropical storm force winds. So we're talking 51 mile per hour wind gusts in Mount Airy. That's a pretty strong wind gust. I mean, even 36 in Greensboro, that's not even some, we could still talk about that. That's a pretty strong wind gust there as well. So we've been seeing some gusty winds at times already, and the forecast calls for more of them as we go into tonight.
Yeah, Mary Sue Chapman here wants to know, when will the wind stop? I think it's been scaring a lot of folks. Always better when it's daytime rather than nighttime, because at least you can see outside. but it is scary. And we want to show you our wind model here, which honestly, I saw this yesterday. I got a little nervous. It's been pretty accurate, depicting those really high gusts, and it continues to show them. If you look forward in time, though, if we put this out, you're going to notice they decrease a little bit towards 6 o'clock, and we're maybe already be seeing some of these decreasing winds a little bit, and then we get a bit of a break. And I think this is real. What's happening is you have the low pressure area moving to our north. And so we're kind of getting a little bit of a lull. But Monique, as you were saying, the wind gusts will return. So you get a break this evening, perhaps, and then overnight tonight, you can see right here what's happening. This is more of a typical behind a cold front kind of a wind where you have it come over the northwest. The mountains are crazy windy. We're pretty windy. But hopefully not all that severe, especially not severe if you don't have ice on the trees.
Yeah, I think, but the good thing about it, at least for tonight, we can hold tight to the fact that this system is moving out of the picture, and it's moving, as it moves out, those winds will kind of move out with them, and then we do get a break from all of it. But like I said earlier, like this winter storm story isn't over yet, and so these are some of the lingering effects of it that we're still going to be dealing with as we go into Monday. Even though we're no longer going to be talking about the snow or the freezing rain going into tomorrow, at least we know wind is still going to be a story.
So I think from here on out, what you kind of need to know and sort of plan for, you could still have some sleet or freezing rain through about 8 or 9 o'clock. That's kind of the rest of that story. Afterwards, there may be some flurries or light snow showers that happen overnight tonight. We're seeing those near Atlanta right now. That could happen. I wouldn't really get excited about it, but that could happen for us. And then, like we said, the gusty winds will continue tomorrow. The problem is the roads are already terrible.
Yeah.
Someone was asking, how do the roads look? They're bad. We were both on them earlier to get to work. They're not good at the moment.
Definitely not. When I was on my way to work, I had to drive I would say about 30 miles below the speed limit, just to make sure I got here safely. And there was a moment when I was kind of swerving a little bit, not having control of the wheel. So it's definitely not a safe space to get on the roads. And then, as we go into tonight with cold temperatures and we have this precipitation just sitting, some of the stuff could turn icy, which could even make for worse driving conditions for the start of the week.
Yeah, so as far as we can tell, we have a lot of crews around the area. We're not out right now. We haven't been for several hours. They haven't noticed much improvement of the roadways, and that would even include I-40 and the major roads. So it seems that they're kind of waiting a little bit. We're not the reporters here, but I would say this: don't plan on any roads to be good today. I'll put it that way. Based on past storm experience in this area, I would be shocked if by midday tomorrow, all the main roads aren't pretty fine. I think they should be. Most of the main roads should be fine by midday tomorrow, but your neighborhood won't be. It will not be, and the reason is it's going to be darn cold for several days. We have lows in the 20s every morning, highs in the 40s, and especially shady roads. That sounds funny. If you have, roads that are in the shade that don't get sunlight, they're not going to melt that much. Sleet is not something we get as often as snow, but actually sleet is harder to melt. It's much harder to melt a sleet ball than it is to melt a snowflake. And there are some reasons behind that, but I think you'll be surprised. Even with the little amounts that we got, you'll be surprised at how long it kind of lingers and sticks around a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely something to keep an eye out for the roadways wherever you live. I know, especially if you're in a place that isn't a popular street, your street may take a longer while for it to get cleared, which means as we continue to dance around these below freezing temperatures over the next several days, ice and this sleet sticking around for quite a while could be the case for your neighborhood. So definitely staying hunkered down is the key, at least as we go through the midweek.
Yeah, and you make the best choices that you can out here, and we'll see how it goes. But it seems like a good time for Monday to be a holiday, which it is for many folks. You might not have to go anywhere. Schools are certainly closed. That's good news. If it weren't a holiday, they certainly would be closed otherwise.
Yeah. And I know a lot of folks are commenting, saying here, at least the sun's coming back out tomorrow, which we will see the sunshine throughout the day on Monday. Once the system clears out, the clouds that are associated with it are going to be moving out the picture too. So that's going to be good. So for those looking for some sun. Hey, you're going to see some sun soon. But with the sun, like Tim said, in those sunnier locations, that will help to melt some stuff, which then turns to liquid. And if it doesn't go anywhere, well, then that freezes. So that's something that we just going to have to keep an eye out for.
It's true. And then we have the black ice, that we talk about so frequently. We'll point this out. Some areas in the Triad have warmed above freezing. Asheboro, Siler City, Burlington, you're close to it. You're not there yet. But we do see some locations that have gotten just barely above that 32-degree mark. That's good news because that puts an end to your freezing rain threat or anything like that. Still cold everywhere else. In fact, Greensboro is the coldest, which still puts us at risk for a little bit more ice or things like that to happen. A couple pictures here. This was from Asheboro earlier. Sherry Pugh, also a meteorologist, by the way, she noticed some ice buildup on her deck railings earlier, and most of this on the yard she was noting that was sleet accumulation, not snow. So really, truly a mixed bag in Randolph County earlier today.
Yeah, we've been seeing that across the area, and it seems as though, based on my observations, I've seen the sleet pellets get smaller.
Me too.
Through the day. Earlier, if maybe around 10 or 11 a.m., you could really hear them like ping, 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 and they were loud.
Yeah.
And now when you walk outside, I think that's why it's confusing everyone onto like what is really happening.
Yeah.
It's still sleet. It's just a smaller pellets.
I wonder if we can think about this out loud. I wonder if what's happening is like, earlier, we had such a thick layer of cold air. We can put up the graphic here. So what sleet really is the reason that it's been falling the way it has is we have a thin layer of warm air above our heads. The weather balloon this morning showed this. At about 5,000 feet, it's above freezing, and everywhere else it was below freezing. So I wonder, Monique, if that cold layer was really thick earlier, you freeze the pellet right away, and then maybe it even gets bigger. And then if it's a shallower layer, maybe it just barely freezes and is smaller. I don't know if that holds water or not.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I was thinking more so like the cloud structure itself. If it had a longer time to fall, then it
could
would
be
grow
too.
bigger.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
either of the two. Because, I mean, the way that the sleet is kind of, so Tim has discussed this previously in some newscasts where once you have snow and then it melts, you can't get that snow back to crystallizing all the way to being a snowflake. You only get a snowflake once. Once it melts, you can't go back to it. It then just refreezes and turns ice, and that's how we see the sleet. So depending on how large that melting happens, how long that lasts, depends on like maybe why we may see larger versus smaller, or like I was thinking, maybe if it just takes a long time for it to fall through the cloud, it's collecting and colliding and getting bigger, and so then it falls bigger, but I'm not necessarily sure. I think your method might make more sense though.
It's definitely interesting to think about, but we both noticed that,
Yeah.
and you don't hear it as much as before. Shani wants to know, is there a cold front behind this system? There kind of is. That's why our wind is shifting tomorrow, or really overnight, to the northwest. So that's going to usher in cold air. It's going to be a very cold week. This is the coldest week we've had this winter. We're barely going to touch 40 degrees all week long. So you need
Would you be able to show the temperatures across the nation? We could maybe see what the
Sure,
temperatures are like
yeah.
coming into our area.
Let me load that up here. So here we are in the icebox. Meanwhile, coastal North Carolina is 60 degrees with a slight chance of a severe thunderstorm. They were on the SPC Outlook today at the Outer Banks. Amazing. We should tweet this. This is a crazy graphic there. If you zoom out, you do notice it's pretty cold every place. We're 20s with a storm. I think Chicago and Minneapolis are 20s without a storm. So it's colder weather there.
And that's the type of air that's just going to be sitting over us for the next couple of days behind us.
Yeah, here's your futurecast. So there goes your system. And that's going to move up the coast, going to make a big storm places like Pennsylvania, New York, and New England. And then we're windy and dry tomorrow. We will see the sunshine. We should really see it most of this week. A couple of people questioning, well, what about this next big storm on Friday? My answer is, I don't know.
One day at a time.
I don't know. Not because I'm ignoring you or trying to be evasive here, but I haven't had time.
But also, too, it's really important just to note that the models are still trying to figure out this system that we're currently dealing with. So it's kind of hard for them even to help us in assisting to predict the latter part of the week.
Yeah.
Because they're still trying to figure this thing out too. So we're all just trying to figure, but we are in the heart of winter season. We do have the cold air available for us to be able to turn any precipitation into some sort of winter precipitation, depending on whether this is going to be considered a storm or just a shower or whatever have you. That's going to be the big question as we approach the weekend.
The main idea is that the weather pattern that we're in right now that allows for cold weather and for wintry weather, it looks to stay put for the next maybe week or two through the rest of January. So if this doesn't wet your whistle enough for winter weather, we could see more. That is possible. But you should also know this week has taught us, just a reminder, which we already knew this, 5 to 7 days away from a storm, we don't know much about the flavor of that storm just yet. We can see signal, but much more detail is not really doable until a couple days before. Other questions? More people are asking about the storm that we just answered those questions.
Some people are saying, should we be worried about power outages? As you know, Tim showcased some maps when we talked about winds, and we also talked about the potential for freezing rain, just the slightest of it as we go into the latter part of tonight could lead to some power outages. But as the system continues to quickly kind of move out of our area through tonight, after tonight, the wind threat kind of really lowered. I mean, the power outage threat due to winds kind of really lowers because as strong as wind gusts, I mean, we're seeing those in the next 2 or 3 hours. Beyond that, they're going to start to die down.
I think I actually think it's safe to say at this point, for most of us, the power outage threat is pretty low. It's not zero, but it is certainly lower than it looked like before. And so we should feel good about that, but you should still be prepared just in case, right? A lot of people want to, is it going to snow again tonight? That is a possibility, but not a good one, I don't think. Let's look at the radar here. You can see what's going on. So Atlanta's getting some snow, and this is interesting. But what they're having is snowfall that's kind of wrapping in like this. When that system is over us, it's going to be wrapping in like that. And we have 5,000 and 6,000 foot tall mountains just to our west. So something that happens quite often is that when you have the wind flow off of those mountains, we call it a downslope wind. And what that means is the air physically is being shoved downward. When you do that, there's some physics here. The air is running into the ground, so it's getting compressed. And when you compress something, you're actually going to warm it and dry it also. So some compressional drying happens. Long story short, the air should dry out. So I think some scattered snow flurries or snow showers tonight are possible. They will have zero impact because what impact is there to have? The roads are already ice and snow covered. It doesn't matter. It might be pretty if you get some, but it won't make anything really worse. I certainly don't think.
I think the brunt of the activity we've seen already today. If there may be other things that occur later part of today in terms of what falls from the sky, but it's not going to be something where we're going to be dancing in snow again or something like that.
Nope. The time to get out and do that was earlier today. Pamela is in Eden, Draper area, she says, and the wind is really bad. That makes sense. It kind of seems like, Susan, I'm not aware of a tornado today.
There was some active weather well down in Florida.
East? Oh, Florida.
In Florida, not.
Oh, look at this line here over the Gulf Stream. You know, this is back in both of our old viewing area, Wilmington. They really blow up those storms over the Gulf Stream sometimes. I don't think there was a tornado in North Carolina, though.
Not North Carolina.
That's news
I saw
to
warnings down in Florida.
This map tells the story, though. So it's really two storms here. We've had ice as the main idea from Raleigh to Lumberton to Columbia and to Charlotte. These are ice reports. And then you have snow and sleet reports north of 85. We joke about 85 being a dividing line, but there's some truth to it sometimes. What else haven't we mentioned here, Monique? What else do people want to know?
I was looking at that line offshore. That line has some pretty strong wind gusts with it. Sorry.
It's bad news if you're a shrimper.
I was weather sidetracked.
Hey, this is news to me. I love this. Today is the first day of the year with a 5:30 p.m. sunset. I
could
like
see it.
it. Doesn't make a difference today,
could see
but
it.
tomorrow you'll be able to enjoy that possibly. While we have you here, we can give you a little update as far as power outages. There are 67,000 without power in the state of North Carolina, but the good news is that most of our area is free of power outages. There are about 400 out in Alamance. We have about 3,000 in Forsyth, which is not nothing. Surrey has about 1,000 there, but overall, very, very good so far. There hasn't been a lot of ice buildup, and our chances for ice buildup are really going down because the radar is starting to dry out. And when the radar dries out even more, it's going to be harder to get significant glazing. And the temperature is warming. We're up to 26 in Greensboro, 33 in Asheboro. So it really does seem like the freezing rain threat is low, not high, and that should keep the power outage threat to a minimum. Just keep an eye on those winds, which are still going to be pretty gusty. That'll take a break around 7 to 8 o'clock tonight.
Seems like the zones that you showed on the radar are kind of the same zones that seen the power outages in terms of the freezing rain. So that's out of our central Piedmont area, but areas down to the south and east that are all seeing power outages are the ones that are seeing freezing rain. And luckily enough, we haven't really seen freezing rain as of yet, at least. So for us, things are much drier, which is cool. Calmer in power outage zone.
We all want to keep the lights on. That's just the way it is, for sure. Ollie reports to us the winds have dropped off significantly in Winston-Salem. That's good to hear. And that is what our model has indicated. Indicate the wind will be really bad for a while and then really stop quite quickly. So I'm hoping that's true. It's been very good so far. Honestly, there have been a couple surprises here or there, but by and large, today has played out the way that we thought. Just thank goodness with less ice so far.
I think the sleet was really much of the day time.
Yes.
Like the snow was more so if you slept in this morning like myself, you missed the snow. But if you were up maybe 10 or 11, it was just straight freezing rain for much of the day.
Early bird. Okay, this is an update. We got to our newsroom. Road crews in Greensboro. This is if you live in Greensboro. The road crews are focusing at the moment on priority 1 routes, major thoroughfares. That's like Wendover Ave, for example. It has been plowed. Wendover has been plowed, Monique. So
I can go home.
That's the way you go home tonight.
I can go home.
He thinks that as the precipitation slows, they'll start to move toward priority 2 roads this evening. Greensboro has a second shift coming in at 10 o'clock. So that's some new info to our newsroom, which we like to see. We're probably going to wrap this up here over the next minute or two. If you have any other questions, you can always kind of hit us up on social media, and we'll be happy to help you there. But in the meantime, what are the bullet points? It's kind of winding down.
Things are winding down, getting a lull in it. We may see some showers of things briefly late tonight, but the big part of this storm, we talk about, am I going to see more significant amounts of snow? No. That's going to be the case for tonight. Things are pretty much dying down, but the winds are now picking up a little bit. That's going to be the case for at least the next couple of hours, and then they're going to pick up once again to start your Monday morning.
Yep, very breezy tomorrow, very cold tomorrow, but sunny. And so grab your shovel, grab your salt, do your duty on your driveway. We'll see how that works. I have some shoveling to do tomorrow. Haven't done that in a couple of years, everybody.
And no immediate concerns in the forecast either when we talk about any precipitation for at least Tuesday and Wednesday. I can say that for sure. Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be dry days. So for those who are like, okay, will I be able to get outside by Tuesday or Wednesday? Hopefully Wednesday. You'll be able to do something.
We'll figure out Friday and let you know. We haven't thought about it yet. So how can we be wrong if we haven't thought about it? Okay, everybody, thank you for picking us to inform you about your local weather. We certainly appreciate you doing that, and we will actually have more updates tonight. Our crews are going to be live. We're going to have a Facebook show basically right here on WFMY News 2 Facebook page at 6 o'clock. So we'll be there. Hopefully you'll be there too. And we'll have a lot more live pictures. You don't have to stare at us the whole time. So, bye.